What you see here is the top opening to the septic tank, and as you can see, it's kind of full there with all sorts of debris, which is typical for your septic tank. And if you notice there, you have the, I guess it's the overflow portion sticking up out of the debris, and then you have that pipe that is going back into the concrete on the left. So typically septic tanks are made of concrete. Most of them are, at least the old ones, and the walls are anywhere from like 4 to 6 inches thick, and that pipe that you see there is protruding through the wall of the septic tank, and then it heads back into the house, and that's how all of the debris from the house gets into the septic tank. What's not shown here is the dig out of all of the dirt to the left of where that piping is sticking out, so we can get to that pipe, and then sawing off the pipe and connecting to it so it can be run out to the sewer at the back of the property. So that's what we ended up doing. This section that's dug out actually gets probably 3 times bigger, so the guys that are doing the plumbing can get in there, cut the pipe, connect the new pipe with the fittings and everything, and bypass the septic tank here. What you see here is the 4-inch pipe that is being placed into the trench leading back to the stub out at the back of the property for the city sewer. At this point, the trench leading back beyond the woods to the back of the property has already been completed. At the last videos, we showed that we stopped at the beginning of the woods there, but we had ended up continuing that on later on. So all of the trenching at this point is complete, and we're starting to lay all of the pipe going back to the back of the property. You'll also notice that there is a green wire running the full length of where the piping is. And what that specifically is, and it's required by code, it's a copper wire that actually gets set on top of the piping. It gets taped down or wrapped or what have you. And that is used to be able to locate the sewer line after it's buried, meaning that they'll use a metal detector or some kind of device that will detect the copper. It's typically a metal detector. And if you have a problem with your sewer at some time down the road, a plumber or an inspector or someone can use their metal detector, go along the ground, and determine where your plumbing is. And then from there, they can try to locate where there's a problem. One of the things you're going to see here in one of the series coming up are these stub outs. And once you detect a problem, you'll be able to figure out where you have to dig up by using the copper wire and detecting where that is. Here's a picture looking back at the piping going into where the septic tank is. As I mentioned earlier, we had to dig out the area around the opening to the septic tank and then cut the pipe from the septic tank to the house and then reroute it to the piping that you see in this picture. And you can see there's a fair amount of dirt that is already dug out for that. And what's going to happen here at the top portion of this pipe, it's simply going to go at a 45 degrees to the right with some fittings, etc., and then tie into the piping for the house, thus bypassing the septic tank. Here you can see the continuation of the 4-inch pipe going to the back of the property. And if you look at the top of the photo, it looks like there is a 90-degree turn there, which is what we would want to avoid. However, looks can be deceiving. That's actually more like a 45-degree turn. Just the angle that you're looking at there, it looks kind of pronounced. But that is 45 degrees, so we've got a nice sweeping turn at the top there. And then also at the top, you can maybe see a little bit of that green wire that they're going to be putting in here, coming around the corner, and just making sure that we can locate that pipe if there is ever an issue. And also, what you can't see here is when the worker is putting in this pipe, what he's doing is measuring from the top of the grade to the top of the pipe or the bottom of the pipe to make sure that there's enough slope there to allow the debris to move smoothly through the pipe as it gets to the back of the property. Here you see more of the trenching and the piping getting ready to be placed into the trench towards the edge of the woods going back to the end of the property here. One of the interesting things that you'll see here is if you look to the right, you can see that corrugated black pipe. That is the piping that I mentioned earlier that is for the leach field. It's all the way back here at the edge of the property going into the woods. So it was a pretty large leach field that was here, and that got dug up by the backhoe, of course, and that is all throughout the backyard here going back to the house. I mentioned earlier it's probably 100 feet, 110 feet to the back of the house there. So the backyard composing of the leach field was pretty large and went all the way back here. Here you can see the piping entering the wooded area of the property going back to the stub out, and it's got a few bends in it. It's kind of flexible, no big deal there. And we're still continuing to measure the slope to make sure that there's enough room and slope for a smooth transition of the debris through the pipe. And then also you see a very good view of that copper wire, which is on a spool in the middle of the picture there, that they are rolling out the full length of the piping all the way back to the stub out for the city sewer. And at this point, it's just a matter of tying into the city sewer since all the piping is already set. And we are going to show that on the next series. So we're going to close this one out, continue on to the next series, and we will give you an update then. So until next time, peace out.